We are the weirdos, mister.
Hi, hello, it is me, Audra, the Messiah of Nonsense, and your unlicensed therapist, and also a lover of dead television. And if you didn't know, I have 3 channels now. I've had them, but now I'm using them. I have one for media, because I don't know if y'all want me to have the things about the shows and movies I watch on this channel. And I also have one for politics, girly pop politics. I focus mostly on Texas politics because as Texas goes, apparently so does the rest of the country. And Texas is not going well. So that being said, today I'm going to be looking at the Noah Samsen response to Ethan Klein's lawsuit. If you're not aware, Ethan Klein issued a request for retraction against Noah Samsen for the video in which he called, well, let me change that, which Noah, me and my pronouns, in which Noah said that Ethan Klein was amongst many creators who was perpetuating a genocide. Also, again, I would like to apologize for all of the Hassan stuff that's going on right now. I would like for it to end. Unfortunately, the world is on fire, so I don't know how to make it end. So, without further ado, which there's already been too much ado, let's go. Good.
Hey everyone, it's me, Noah, long time no see. Today I'm going to talk about being sued, or being threatened with a lawsuit at least. I haven't actually been sued yet. Ethan Klein and Mutahar from Some Ordinary Gamers have said that they plan on suing me for defamation. They're doing this in response to a video I posted in March called The YouTubers Who Backed a Genocide. I brought up these legal threats.
I'm really glad that he did the breakdown for me because his was better. This is the difference between being a professional YouTuber and me. Thank you.
It's in another video of mine, but they decided to escalate things by paying a lawyer to write a cease and desist, which they sent to me in late March. And in it, they ordered me to retract my video within 3 weeks.
If you haven't seen this, it says, our clients demand that you provide a retraction and correction of all the defamatory statements identified in this letter in compliance with California Civil Code Section 48A. This letter does not constitute a complete statement of all of our clients' rights, contentions, legal theories, or the facts in support thereof. Nothing stated herein is intended, nor shall it constitute a waiver or relinquishment of any of our clients' rights or remedies, whether legal or equitable, all of which are hereby expressly reserved. Sincerely, Nam Bornissum. I don't know what any of that means. It feels like they're saying you have to retract it and correct it or else.
Or get my little ass sued. Ethan Klein went on to read the cease and desist on his live stream and repeat this threat over and over again on subsequent episodes.
He started his second video by saying, Ethan's threatened to sue me. It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
Oh.
Wait. I'm literally going to sue you for defamation.
Uh-oh.
Noah said in his second video, Ethan's threatening to sue me. Have fun with that, I guess. He said, well, I'm about to have fun with it. And unfortunately, I don't think you're going to be having much fun with it.
To me, the thing that's really sad, again, is Ethan's claim to fame is fair use. He has become the thing he hates. And it's sad and embarrassing, in my opinion.
He didn't respond to my video by his own admission. He just read what his lawyer wrote for him and then said that his full response would happen in court.
I know he wants me to respond to every point in his video, which I will do in a much more formal setting.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
And I can't wait for you. You know, you can do your cute little videos and all that kinds of business on your YouTube channel. But when it comes to you know, I'd love to see you reason out in a court document about how
The thing that really also bothers me about this is Ethan throwing out lawsuits left and right and YouTubers doing this kind of shit. Even with Denims, who has now retracted that. We'll get into that later. But she was going to do essentially the same thing, but to Ethan, with regard to having multiple comments where he said that Denims and her community had CPS called on him. And she was going to have a retraction issued there. You're correct. She did not retract it. She just stopped fundraising for it. Listen, my brain, potatoes. Mental health, middle. But she is still going forward with that. But she's just not community fundraising for it because she did not want to keep getting all these accusations of her being a scammer. So she was like, you know what? I'll just do it with my own money and not community fundraise for it. But The problem with all of this, and he's the one who, in my opinion, who is perpetuating this issue. We don't need a community of content creators who can no longer feel comfortable stating an opinion on what anybody else is doing, because then you just have like weird pockets of the internet. Like that's how you get the red pill weird pocket, right? Where there's just people over there being really weird, and they're just like constantly just in this little hub of I'm too ugly, and then they start getting blackpilled. It gets ridiculous, right? Without the opposing voices to tell you like, hey, guess what? The problem isn't that you're a nice guy and she only likes jerks. You're just not actually a nice guy. You're only befriending women with the intention of pumping and dumping into them. You don't even see them as people, and that's actually the problem. It's not that you're not attractive. It's not that you're not a good guy. It's not that nice guys finish last. It's literally that you suck. So if you don't have somebody to oppose that, for some of them to get their heads out of their asses and become normal, functional human beings in society, then they're allowed to stay in that mindset without anybody being there to help pull them out. That's the beauty of the internet. That's one of the good things, in my opinion, about the internet, is it helps you get pulled out of dark spaces. For instance, somebody on my Hassan video did in fact be like, hey, Jill Stein has done a lot of stuff. And I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't actually just be out here saying shit, because where I am doesn't help. But I also have to remember, like, Ross Perot, while he didn't win and people made fun of him a lot, but he did really start, to me, the bigger conversation earlier about like why we're just operating only in a two-party system, right? He had a lot of momentum behind him. I think if Jill Stein wants that kind of momentum, I think a lot of people, the main issue myself and other leftists have isn't just the fundraising, etc. It's the fact that there's not momentum being pushed for her all year, right? And that's been my issue with third parties in general. That momentum needs to be pushed for all 4 years. We need to be making money for them. We need to be pushing their policies forward for all 4 years. People need to be out there doing it so everyone can hear this, right? Instead of it appearing and seeming like they just come up and rise up, make money and leave, right? That's not the actual image that we want of that. But yeah, I just feel like when we're on this level where we're constantly suing each other for every little thing, I mean, that just kind of defeats the point. I don't know why I'm saying beats. I think because I was just listening to Me and You from Cassie. I've been waiting. I think I'm gonna make my move now. Baby, tell me if you like it.
I and Mutahar support genocide. I really look forward to that.
Despite all of the threats from these guys, as I said at the outset, I haven't been sued yet. It's been over 3 weeks since the retraction deadline, and as you may see on my channel, the video is still up. Here's a clip of the last time Ethan even mentioned it, which was over 2 weeks ago.
Noah Samsen, he has missed his deadline. Actually, Mutahar is in the chat. What did he say? Did you see that Noah's apparently moving out? Yeah, he's sorry, no video, been moving, etc. Video coming soon. It's amazing how nobody wants to respond to me. Everybody goes cold feet. If you're gonna level an attack against me, the least you could do is respond.
God, I love this, man. Why won't you play with me? Why does no one want to play with me? Come on. Ever since the retraction deadline passed, the ball has been in Ethan's court. Not responding to a cease and desist is a response on its own, right?
Correct.
According to these people, I'm still actively defaming them because my video is still public, so it's on them to do something about it. But again, aside from some beautiful bills, my mailbox remains empty. If you're wondering where I've been, there's a few reasons I haven't really been able to post much. I've had some personal things going on. I recently moved. I also got doxxed by a certain community of fans of a certain podcast, which I'll talk about in another video. But one of
Oh, look. The thing that everybody keeps acting like isn't happening, but is happening. Do you know what I mean? They keep being like, no, like Ethan's community doesn't do that. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Regularly. No one wants to respond to me. Now you fucking wonder. You know, it reminds me of the person who forces everybody's parents to make people come to their birthday party, and then they're surprised when no one wants to engage in any of the festivities. Do you know what I mean? They're forced to come to the birthday party, and they're just like, we don't like you. We didn't want to be here. we don't even want the fucking cake. Like, that's how much we don't like you. We don't give a fuck. We don't want to be here. Let people live their lives. Real talk. Stop making it miserable for everyone. Can you do that? No? Oh, I thought so. And especially the thing with him, with Ethan, to me is like, why do you have a channel if literally every time somebody says something that irritates you, you're suing? And you're already losing a lot. You've already lost a lawsuit. Why are we doing this?
One of the things that I've been dealing with is preparing for the possibility of being sued. This is all new to me. I've never been sued and I've never sued anybody. So I had to spend some time and money learning about defamation law and talking to lawyers and free speech organizations. One thing I was definitely advised was to not post for a little while because, you know, anything said online would very likely be used against me in a potential lawsuit. Now, it is possible that these people might still sue me because rich people can do whatever they want, whenever they want, including sue whoever they want at any time for any reason. But it's worth noting that Ethan has also been a bit preoccupied in recent weeks, going beast mode in some live debates in front of hundreds of thousands of people.
What? You don't know what I'm talking about?
What is?
What? Yeah, it was on the list. You're lying.
Yeah. I got a free Rolex hat
dude.
from a friend of mine. I still wear it every now and then.
Yeah, and you're so. Oh wow, who knew? All right, listen, it's 5 o'clock. Like I said, I have a family to go to. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I know that you have a fucking cool ass race car bed to sleep in, and I hope you enjoy that.
Every time I see this shit, I just get more embarrassment, more secondhand embarrassment for him.
Are you not ashamed of yourself?
Did you think that that was a good lie?
Are you not embarrassed? This is really embarrassing.
Did you think that you were like, boom, gotcha, bitch, like you did? Yeah, he's just really been having his ass handed to him, but every time, like, him and his community think he won. They all think he won. They're all like high-fiving. It's wild. And again, this is where I will consistently say, I think that the bro politics situation, brolitics, there we go. I keep saying this, but it wasn't just that Hassan let himself be dragged into this. I get that Ethan was talking shit about Hassan for a long period of time. I get that. I feel that Hassan's message was stronger on his own platform when he wasn't being interrupted by a dipshit who could not be bothered to actually have done any studying, get any actual real information to back up his views, who was going to overtalk him, and who only cared about being right and not about actually listening and learning and discussing their viewpoints and all of that, right? And then on top of that, the fact that Ethan was already a known misogynist and racist at this point, and he still did a podcast with him. Listen, I know that some men are going to have left the chat at this point, but this is why we say all men. This is why. A lot of leftists in this space, leftist men in this space, talk a lot about trying to take down the patriarchy, being leftist, being caring, but their spaces are still almost exclusively male. And they will still do podcasts with people like him. So, you know, there's that. I'm not going to back down off of that. I'm going to keep that there. Thank you.
Okay, man. Thank you. Have a good one.
And dealing with another very real defamation lawsuit that he's currently...
And yes, that does include Noah himself. Like, yes.
Losing to a former billionaire, which is a thing that's actually happening right now. He could be on the hook for a lot of money, which is crazy. So maybe he's just busy and gonna get around to it eventually. Personally though, I don't think they're going to follow through with these threats for a few reasons, but the biggest one is just that they don't have a case.
Correct.
I think it's pretty clear that this cease and desist was sent to me with one goal, which was intimidation. It was an attempt to silence my criticism of these creators' genocide, apologia, and participation in baseless smear campaigns against pro-Palestine creators and movements.
All he has to do to avoid getting sued is apologize for everything he said and did, admit he was either lying or ignorant, and erase the video, and also disgrace, and just accept the disgrace that is basically lying about 2 people being pro-genocide, which is one of the most twisted, fucked up things you can accuse someone of.
This sort of thing often works because most people just don't have the resources to deal with a lawsuit. In my case, I don't have the resources either, but what I do have is you, an audience of people that have been very vocally supportive of the potential for contributing to a legal fund. I'll be honest though, I would prefer it if they didn't sue me. Not because I think they have a case, nor because I don't think we can raise the money. It's just that I don't feel comfortable fundraising for legal fees right now, given the many better places that money could go, like aid for the people being subjected to this ongoing genocide. Seeing as they haven't sued me yet, that's what we're gonna do. That's what this video is for.
And that is what is happening right now on the day that this is being filmed. This is the 18th of May. I'm going to say that I'm sorry I said it weird like that. That was my brain trying to figure out what day it is. But this is the 18th of May. There is currently a fundraiser happening as we speak. Here is the link if you want to donate. And feel free to donate it. If you're in the US of A, recommend that you donate anonymously, to be honest. Okay, thank you. He has raised over 200K. I myself am strange and unusual, and I did donate. If that does anything for your spirit, thank you.
Fundraising video. I started a fundraiser for UNRWA, the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. The donation link is in the description. I'll also be hosting a fundraising live stream with some special guests and some gaming and hanging out and other things of the sort, which will start on Saturday, May 17th at 2 p.m. Pacific time and probably go for
It is the
days.
18th today.
I don't usually stream, but I'm thinking of playing some games, maybe set up an air mattress and do a sleeping stream. I've seen that before. It looks fun. I've set the goal at $200,000 because that's what I was actually quoted as being a safe amount to fundraise in order to be able to afford a potential prolonged legal battle against Ethan and Mutahar, which is crazy, right? That's a lot of money, but I was also thinking we could show them.
Listen, this is like reverse. This is reverse Uno, man. He said, you want to sue me? Cool. Anyways, I'm raising that money that I would usually use to crowdfund for the lawsuit, and I'm going to raise that money for Palestine. So come at me, bro. And my understanding is that the phrasing is dick measuring or dick swinging contest. It is obviously not a dick stroking contest. And I don't apologize for the lack of dickle knowledge. Thank you.
That's a figure we can achieve if we need to, and instead of it going to a lawyer for some bullshit YouTuber lawsuit, it would go to Gaza. If these guys actually do decide to sue me though, in terms of the actual lawsuit, again, I'm not too worried. I told the truth and said what I believed, and I'm prepared to defend it in court should it make it that far. If that does happen, I'll just do another fundraiser, I guess, and then we can donate whatever we don't use once the case gets dropped. It could be a little, or it could be a lot. That all depends on how long these guys want to drag this out. I want to talk a bit more about the case, the cease and desist, and a few other things, but first we need to do a sponsor break. I gotta do sponsors because my videos get demonetized and I don't post that much. Support me on Patreon.
So that's true. Even if the video doesn't get demonetized, sometimes it might get age restricted, which hurts it getting pushed out into the algorithm. Sometimes you say certain words and that also hurts it from getting pushed out into the algorithm. So if you want to join anybody's Patreon who does YouTube, go to Patreon. Also, again, if you're in my Patreon, you should be, it should now be connected to the Discord. So you should automatically get pulled in. And then if you're a YouTube channel member, I will post that link again, so we could chat in there. If you like movie nights and TV shows and whatnot, you should turn on notifications for that. I love how my brain is just operating on the lowest possible level today.
Go over that very briefly.
Calling somebody a supporter of a genocide is a very different thing than saying somebody's career is cooked, or saying that somebody fell off, or making a video about an internet drama. One of them is a real legitimate thing where people are bad. And
Wank the biscuits?
The woman was too stunned to speak.
I'm undone.
Fact is that This is totally different than just a drama slop thing. This is completely different.
For someone to be found liable for defamation, there's a few bars that need to be reached. First, the plaintiff must establish that the allegedly defamatory claim is a statement of fact. Next, that statement of fact must be provably false. It also must have caused demonstrable damages to the plaintiff's finances or reputation. And lastly, the statement has to have been made with actual malice. Actual malice is a legal standard. It's the highest legal standard for defamation claims, and it's only applied to public figures. Basically, it means that the defamatory statements have to be proven to have been made with the existing knowledge that these statements were false. Now, the first hurdle of Ethan and Mutahar's lawsuit threat is establishing that claim 1, that they backed the genocide, evidenced by my video's title and thumbnail, is a provably false statement of fact. They immediately fail here, though, because it's not a statement of fact, it's an opinion. It's the conclusion of the arguments and evidence I presented in my video. In defamation cases, when distinguishing between opinion and fact, the broader context of where the statements were made must be considered. In the cease and desist, the lawyer they paid to write it for them chose to ignore this broader context, opting instead to single out one word in the video's title, the word backed, characterize that word using one definition from a single source, and then argue that that word, solely using the definition they've interpreted it to mean, is a statement of fact and also a false one. And not only that, but this falsehood is one that I lied about maliciously. When evaluating defamation claims, headlines are not typically treated as statements of fact when the articles themselves explain how this conclusion was reached. That's what my video was for.
I have no idea what he just said because literally my brain just went into hamster mode. But basically, trying to prove defamation in court is very difficult, especially as a public figure. It is very, very difficult. Because in the private sector, it's way easier for us, right? If you had a defamation suit, to be able to prove instantly that someone damaged your reputation and your business, right? Like if I had a little nail salon and somebody went on TikTok and said that I gave them infections, like I would be able to prove that they defamed my business. I'm not a public person. In this example, I wouldn't be a public person. I would just have my little business, and I would be able to show, well, since they made these statements, I'm getting all these bad reviews on Google and on Yelp. All of these things are going poorly for me. This is how much money I've lost. This is how many clients I've lost. You can prove that. As a public figure, it's much harder because you have to prove that what was said negatively impacted your personal persona to the point that you lost opportunities and business and money. And considering all the wild shit that Ethan has already been doing, it's going to be difficult to prove that it was this video in particular that caused people to leave. You would have to be able to find people who said, yes, I watched this video and it made me not like Ethan.
I know for a fact that Ethan accused me of defaming him before he'd even watched it, based on the title and the thumbnail alone. If I had to guess, I would say that the decision to threaten a lawsuit came from this knee-jerk reaction to my videos.
There we go. Kat's got it all summed up. He's pointing out that this was all his opinion and the title was based on his conclusion he comes to at the end of the video. Under defamation law, the title is like a headline, and headlines themselves are not counted if the article shows the argument that makes the headline make sense. Hell yeah, Kat. Thank you.
Title and thumbnail, and that knee-jerk reaction was never re-examined because it didn't need to be. Ethan has money and time and no one in his life that is willing to challenge him on something like this, especially not his lawyer who he is paying. So whatever he thinks and says is truth. So how do they go about trying to prove this claim of defamation?
Also,
well, it's pretty interesting.
I just feel like a lot of people are like, why doesn't his lawyer stop him? Hello? Why would you stop your gravy train? Knock, knock. That is not what lawyers' jobs are. The defamation law class I took nearly 20 years ago coming in handy finally. I love it when shit you learned a long time ago, you're like, ha, I can use it now.
They actually go with the no I didn't defense. They essentially claim, we couldn't have possibly supported a genocide because elsewhere we have said that we don't. We said that genocide is bad, so we are exempt from any criticism for any other things we may have said that do actually support a genocide. For this point, one of the quotes that they cite is Mutahar saying, "I'm not afraid to say that genocide is wrong." Wow, how brave of you, Mutahar. Aside from that being just false, Mutahar stayed silent on Gaza throughout the entirety of the genocide until it was time to join his friends on a Hassan bad smear campaign. If that's not fear, I don't know what you'd call it other than, I guess, cowardice. But even if it were true, it wouldn't matter. Pointing to examples of lip service doesn't just cancel out other things you've said. Like if someone says that they killed someone and then later says that they didn't, it's not defamation to talk about the first statement without quoting the latter. I didn't think that defense would end up being used by an actual lawyer, but it did, and that's hilarious. Their lawyer's aware of that too.
Because here's the fun part. It's literally just the lawyer doing what they're paid to do. Because I don't think the lawyer gives a fuck. If you want my honest opinion, I don't think that the lawyer gives a fuck. I don't think that the lawyer thinks that this is going to go anywhere, but he's getting paid and he's like, sure, whatever the fuck you want. I'll find something. I'll find something to write up. And this is, again, why when big YouTubers go after smaller YouTubers, why it's quite scary, because you don't have the money to get a lawyer and do all this stuff and try to battle them. So most of the time you just take down the video and you move on with your life. Also, I hope you don't mind, but I'm going to speed this up. He talks in that very like bop, 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 which I enjoy, right? When I'm relaxed. But I am high strung right now, so we need to move faster.
Of how unserious this is, as evidenced by his total lack of citations for any case law in this section. This whole claim, the one that's supposed to be the most prominent one, is just blank, and that's because there is no legal precedent for the "no, I didn't" defense. They're just completely going off vibes. The rest of the cease and desist is just sort of funny to read. A lot of it is them saying, "Your Honor, he clip champed me. Your Honor, he literally didn't even watch the video." They spent like 3 pages attempting to debunk a Bad Empanada video essay because I cited it, which is just sort of awesome. It's been said plenty of times already by Bad Empanada included, but you can't litigate a historical argument in civil court. That's not what civil court is for, and that's not what defamation is. There's one part in the letter where, in an attempt to evidence my malicious intent, their lawyer cites...
Because we keep running into this, I just want to come here and look at it. I don't like that particular... I actually like to go and see what the law actually says, because I don't... Listen, I've been trying to stay as far away from AI as I can. I just don't know how it's used. I feel like it's bad. Forbes has a defamation lawsuit guide 2025. When you come in here and you're like, what is a defamation lawsuit? There are actually 2 types of claims you can make in a defamation lawsuit. You could allege the defendant committed libel or committed slander. While the elements of both are similar, the key difference relates to how the false statement was made. If a false statement is made in written form, it is considered libel. Both print and digital communication can be classified. Any false statements printed in books or newspapers or made on websites, blogs, or social media pages could potentially give rise to a libel claim. Slander refers to spoken defamation. If a false statement of fact is made orally rather than in written form, it is considered slander. However, there has been some confusion over the distinction between written and oral statements due to advancing technology. Podcasts and text messages, for example, could potentially be seen as similar to phone calls, and therefore false statements would be considered slander. However, some argue they are more like written material, in which case the false statements would be considered libel. What do you have to prove in a defamation lawsuit? I know it's annoying, but I'm bringing this up because I'm trying to also fully understand all of defamation. I know it's hard to prove, but it is important for us to, definitions and understanding of what's going forward here, right? So you have to move that the defendant made a false statement of fact. The statement was communicated to a third party. The defendant was at fault. The statement was not privileged, and the plaintiff sustained damage. And so far, based on my understanding of this here from Forbes, so far it doesn't look like this lawsuit is hitting any of those points. So let's go.
The disparity in the view counts of my videos accusing me of the legal violation of clout farming. This statement demonstrates that you intended to not just have third parties spread defamatory statements about Ethan, but profit from those defamatory statements. You proved this point yourself when your video entitled "Manufacturing Consent for Genocide" failed to receive many views, particularly in comparison to the first defamatory video. You made the second defamatory video to further profit from your defamatory statements about Ethan. Your Honor, Noah fell off and tried to climb back to relevance by putting my client's name in his mouth. I encourage people to make videos about Ethan because I think the things he's saying are harmful. I think he's spreading pro-Israel propaganda talking points during Israel's active genocide genocide of the Palestinian people in Gaza. And so far, that's been happening. People are making videos and more people are being exposed to the arguments against these ideas that I think.
And I would also say that I don't think that Noah fell off, just FYI. I think he stopped making as much content. I think he slowed down his content creation because like his videos were getting consistent views, just as an FYI, consistent views. I do think that he decided to take a little break, and he has a second side channel where he just has fun. I think if you do this kind of stuff for a long time, especially if you're talking about really serious subjects, i.e. a genocide, it is taxing on your mental health. It's just it can be very stressful, not just because you're talking about it, but because you're inundating yourself with the horrors and the atrocities that are being committed. Granted, it's not happening to you, but it still can affect you and affect your mental health in a way that makes it difficult for you to kind of keep moving forward, especially when there's not a ton that you can personally do to fix it, right? And you have to keep seeing it. He's been talking about this for a while. He has stepped up and talking about this for a long time and been talking about it off and on. If you take a look, he's been doing it. This didn't just pop up all of a sudden. So they wouldn't even be able to argue that. Thank you.
Think are harmful. Their assumption here, though, that these videos could only have been made for...
It's not a degree. I don't have a degree at all. Please don't. I don't have a degree in law. Thank you. They didn't even give me a piece of paper, so...
nefarious, self-interested aims, that's just pure projection, I think. For these guys, everything is about views and internet fame. You know, everyone is cynical and self-interested, and no one actually believes the things that they say insofar as those beliefs are able to get eyes on their content. There's no way you could be criticizing someone based on any sort of genuine political motive. No, you must just be wanting to jump in on the dog pile, to cash in and grow an audience of snarkers that are there not because they're against genocidal propaganda, but simply because they don't like you. For no reason, even when you're being a perfect little angel.
They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals.
There was more Jews displaced than Palestinians during the Nakba. 900,000 Jews were forced choice, but because they were forced out, the vast majority went to fucking Arabs.
Maybe it's just because they're anti-Semitic. That's probably it. They're probably
I get the shivers every time he does because I'm like, that's mad racist. Anyways, and I will say this again, and I will keep saying it, that people have had problems with Ethan Klein for a long time. A lot of people were smaller content creators, and people did not like getting brigaded and attacked and doxxed, so they would much rather not deal with that and not talk about him at all. And now that there's enough people having these conversations, more and more content creators can feel comfortable talking about not just the genocide, but also all the ways in which Ethan was awful. Because I feel like people forget that this video exists, and I've watched it so many times. 2 years ago, it has 3.1 million views. People kind of forget that video exists. So I feel like people just kind of forget this video exists. And it goes through all of these different things that happen with even just frenemies. So obviously, this isn't just coming up out of nowhere. Thank you.
Anti-Semitic. Anyone that doesn't like me is anti-Semitic. Ethan, through his lawyer, ascribes all of that to me because that's who he is. But, you know, not everyone is like that. Some people just don't like it when you use genocidal talking points because they don't like genocide. And for them, that's a good enough reason on its own to make a YouTube video. What I also like about this one is that, you know, to argue that I'm self-interested, they cite a video I made knowing full well that it would get shadow banned and demonetized, which it did. If I just wanted views and money, I would not have made that video. To be frank, the reason I made that video was on a pretty simple, basic principle, which is being against genocide. And that principle manifests itself in me wanting more people to know about how the media is normalizing this genocide. That same principle is why I made the videos about these guys. It just so happens that when YouTubers are in the thumbnail, more people click on the video. Ethan is aware of this phenomenon. Obviously, he's used it for me and many others. It is unfortunate that more people care about what their favorite e-celebs have to say about each other than an active genocide, but that's the frame of reality we're working within on the internet. And I don't know, I think people are doing what they can to try to change that, or at least use it for positive goals, like getting more people to learn about the genocide. And to an extent, for some people, this seemed to work. You know, I got a lot of comments saying they hadn't heard about what's happening in Gaza or about how bad things actually were until that video was recommended to them. And for most people, the only reason it was recommended to them is because I framed it around what some guys on the internet think about it. That was what I'd hoped would happen. Believe me or don't, it doesn't matter. What matters is that factually, some people learned about the genocide, and they wouldn't have learned about it if I hadn't used these creators as examples. And the same is true for creators like Bad Empanada or Overzealots or Chris Kunzler and more, and anyone else that wants to join in and use the algorithm for good. And they certainly wouldn't have learned about the genocide from any of these creators themselves, because despite their claims to caring about it,
I've been a stalwart supporter of the Palestinian cause for many years.
None of them ever talk about it at all, aside from when they're, you know, basically smearing its opponents and running cover for the country that's committing it.
They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals.
Outside of that, silence. As an aside, I think it's still open to debate as to whether or not this tactic is worth it. Like, is it worth the trade-off to get this information in front of more people when the conversation can so quickly turn from the issues and into creator drama? In this latest chapter, I don't think it was. Granted, I didn't really expect that these people would be petty enough or dumb enough to actually sue me or threaten me, but I probably should have, so that's on me.
And that's a big part of it too, that people just... A big issue is that Ethan has been making it about him and petty drama, while everybody around him is trying to call attention to the atrocities that are happening in Palestine and trying to find ways in which they can help and as well as call attention to it. Unfortunately, the thing with social media is that you can't sometimes just say, hey, this is happening. As we saw, he had all of those other videos that were talking about it. But again, YouTube, the way that YouTube works, even especially with fair use, is it's a revolving. Is it revolving? That's not even the word I'm trying to use. It feeds on itself. All of it goes around. Everybody talks about other people and things that are happening in the YouTube sphere. And so that helps to keep feeding these videos into the algorithm. And if you're simply just talking about it from the point of view of this is a genocide and this is what's happening, like he said, the video may end up getting shadow banned. I think some people are looking at it as drama. I'm trying not to. It's hard because of the way that Ethan positions it, if I'm going to be honest. It's the way he keeps positioning it.
That debate, though, is open only to people that actually care about and talk about the genocide, not you, or any of your freak show fan bases. As far as that first group of people goes, the people whose input I care about, they have been mostly supportive of these efforts. Do whatever you can to get the word out to as many people as possible. That's the feedback I've been getting, so that's what I've been trying to do. But again, that might not always be the case, and that is subject to change. Aside from the cease and desist being, a joke, the other main reason I'm down to clown in court is because Ethan keeps proving my point over and over again. Like every day that passes and every time he opens his mouth on his show, he continually proves that my allegedly defamatory claim that he is backing a genocide is actually very correct. In the very stream he was supposed to be disproving the assertion that he supports genocide, he brought out the most explicit IDF talking points he'd used to date.
I feel like this is a force that's going to help end the war, not fucking keeping hostages and underground and like continuing to provoke Israel to attack them and putting fucking like military complexes under hospitals. They literally put fucking command centers under hospitals.
The talking point he's using there, that Hamas builds command and control centers under hospitals, has been Israel's primary justification for the systematic destruction of Gaza's healthcare infrastructure for over 19 months now. That talking point is a justification for one of the key...
I just don't understand why Ethan's lawyer wouldn't just be like, anyway, we're sending the cease and desist or whatever. Now you shut the fuck up. I don't understand why he wouldn't say that. Now you be quiet. Don't talk about this anymore and make it worse in any way to where I can't defend you. Thanks.
The elements of Israel's approach to genocide. It's genocidal propaganda. There's no other way to put it. He is sharing genocidal propaganda to millions of people. A few episodes later, Ethan and his wife Hila downplayed Israel's mass-targeted assassinations of journalists by claiming that the IDF doesn't do that.
It's not like Israel that is worried about.
It's not like Israel's going to do a precision strike on Hassan. They don't fucking.
Yeah,
but it is dangerous. It's a war zone. Like I agree, it's dangerous.
It's a war zone. I don't think you guys understand Israel.
Yeah, but then they have these like weird fantasies where they send Hassan to Gaza. And it makes my eyes twitch because I'm like, are you okay? Because that's a weird threat to make to someone. Like, y'all wouldn't even go to Israel right now. Y'all said so yourselves because you didn't want the kids to have to, hear a bunch of sirens and noise. Okay.
It doesn't work like that.
They're not.
Yes, they do. They do that more than anyone ever, actually. It's the last possible group of people on Earth that you could claim doesn't intentionally target journalists. This is just pure misinformation that is used to run cover for Israel as it commits a genocide, a major factor of which is limiting people's exposure to the atrocities they are committing. And the most direct way they can do that is by assassinating journalists over and over and over and over again. A couple weeks ago, in a debate with Sam Cedar, Ethan continued to expose himself as a propagandist for Israel's genocide. He repeatedly blamed Palestinian resistance for Israel's genocidal actions in Gaza.
They could have done that. They could have ended it after a week.
Hamas could have ended the war anytime too.
How could have Hamas ended the war?
By releasing the hostages?
No, listen. Israel has said time and time again that the release of the hostages is not going to end their assault on Gaza. They have said this over
I don't believe
and
that's...
over and over.
I haven't seen those statements. I've seen the opposite.
At any time, they could have done that.
What has Hamas done to end the war?
Hamas offered
what have
the
they done to end the war?
early on to say Hamas offered all the hostages in agreement in response to Israel not coming into Gaza. I mean, there's just to defend Israel's actions.
That didn't happen either.
This is the thing that really bothered me about that too, is I'm just like, I don't know why Ethan shows up to these things and he's literally not prepared. I don't understand why he shows up. Like, I would just not come. I would be like, you know what? I didn't do any of my homework, so I'm not coming.
What I'm getting to is Hamas, I think they knew that this was the reaction that would happen.
By this logic, there is nothing Israel could do that can't be blamed on Hamas, which is a genocidal logic because they're committing
Which I really hated that. Saying that, they knew that was going to happen. That doesn't make sense. First of all, are they psychic? You can guess all you want, just in your general everyday life, what you think someone's response to something you say or do is going to be. You're not going to know until you've done it.
genocide and doing exactly what he is doing here, blaming Hamas. This is the logic employed by the IDF and the Israeli state and its propagandists, and this sort of thing is what makes Ethan one of them. In this debate, Ethan also repeatedly conflates anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, which Sam Cedar deconstructs pretty effectively, in my opinion.
This will never happen, but in a totally just world, regardless of your background, any kind of fucking Zionist tendency should be treated in the same way as being a fucking rabid neo-Nazi. And you shouldn't even let someone be the fucking local dog catcher, as Felix was posting, if they've ever exhibited any sort of positive feelings about the state of Israel. I'm so serious about this.
Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language about what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora, and certainly probably people you know in your family.
You go in and you're making this about anti-Semitism by doing this hopscotch about a poll that people had positive feelings that Jewish people do, and then therefore he is anti-Semitic. And honestly, that type of conflation, I think, is so dangerous and so disingenuous. I have had a guy who went to my bar mitzvah, my sister's bar mitzvah, my kid's bar mitzvah, sat at Passover with me 3 or 4 times, call my father and ask him if I'm anti-Semitic. That is just an example, an illustration of conflating when he's clearly talking about Zionism. Was it hyperbole to say any time in life, whatever? The fact of the matter is this conflation is dangerous for Jews.
I really like this.
It is a fig leaf and a way of weaponizing anti-Semitism that has enabled Donald Trump to do the shit he's doing, that has enabled the slaughter of thousands upon thousands of children and women and men, for that matter. It is not keeping Israelis safe. And this type of conflation, Ethan, is what I find far more irresponsible, frankly, than the idea that he said positive any time.
Not only is this another textbook defense used by the genocidal state of Israel, but what he's saying here is also anti-Semitic. He's using this poll to speak for all Jews.
Now, to me, that seems like extremely dangerous, dehumanizing language about what could arguably be 70% of the Jewish diaspora.
Lots of Jewish people think this thing, therefore criticizing that thing is anti-Semitic. Hey, man. No, it's not. The criticism is not about their Jewishness, it's about Israel. The only one who's making it about their Jewishness is you. In the same conversation, Ethan blamed Palestinians for Israel's mass killing of peaceful Palestinian protesters with sniper fire during the Great March of Return in 2018.
They were marching in the Great March of Return week after week after week.
Sam, was there Hamas activity at the Great March?
Sinwar was marching. Sinwar was marching with them.
Were people attacking the border wall?
During the Great March of Return, the first dozens of these things before the snipers? No, they weren't. So there were the people for peace.
There was Hamas activity. They were attacking the fence. They were like trying to cross the border.
They were
but not militants. Militants were trying to cross the border.
We know where he got this talking point from, his friend Destiny, and we've seen him use that before a bunch of times.
Overwhelmingly peaceful. Just as a quick thing, because people love to talk about the...
I'm so sorry. I have to move a little bit because I can't fucking stand to see Destiny anywhere. I'm so sorry. That crosses the line.
Hundreds of them killed while standing hundreds of meters from the fence. It's actually pretty insane that this talking point is still being used. Like, it's disgusting. Men, women, children, medics, aid workers, and disabled people were shot and killed. If your retort to this fact is, well, there was separate instances of violence at the border.
They were attacking the fence. They were like trying to cross the border.
Whether you want to admit it or not, you are doing genocide propaganda. You are offering a moral justification for this violence. There are plenty more instances of this sort of thing in Ethan's debate with Hassan, which I could go over, but I feel like you get the point by now. If Ethan is really going to go through with his I don't support genocide lawsuit, he should probably stop using talking points that support genocide. These guys know that what they're doing here is wrong. In his announcement tweet a couple months back, Mutahar said, "I never want to financially harm or bring a lawsuit to a creator, but slander like this is far too extreme and unchecked. So at this time, we are exploring legal action, blah, 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 blah. I never want to do this thing that I know is wrong and predatory, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have no principles and you hurt my feelings." Defamation is not the same extreme things.
That's a good line. I have no principles and you hurt my feelings. Yes.
Defamation is, and it shouldn't take thousands of dollars and months, potentially years of our time to get these guys to understand that. It might, though, because they're rich, which is amazing. It's a beautiful system that we have, but I hope it doesn't. And then recall what Ethan said 8 years ago when he spoke about his experience of being sued by a more wealthy YouTuber.
It's unbelievable. It's criminal. The American justice system is it's how can you defend yourself? Like, you guys gave us $150,000 to fight this lawsuit. It's not enough. It's not even enough. And I'm just wondering if we didn't have the backing and support of all you.
I'm really sad, honestly, because he looks so healthy here. And I'm not just talking about like physically. I'm just talking about like the energy off of him here. Just such like healthier, happier energy.
You guys and the means to even throw $50,000 of our own money to defend this case. How would we ever stand up to this? It's like those with money in the legal system have the ability to destroy and bully and just defeat people on the grounds of I have more money. And you never would have a chance of defending yourself. It's obscene.
It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
Ethan now constantly threatens lawsuits over creators he doesn't like and creators that say things that are mean about
every
him.
time.
When I'm done with Noah, when I'm done with the other one, the big one that's dropping probably next week, my full attention is going to you, George. Like the Eye of Sauron. I see you out there, you fucking cockroach. You're full of shit, bro. You're not gonna do shit. And I'll tell you who's gonna do shit. Me. I'm gonna
I'm coming, okay? So you're not safe either. Just wait. Keep talking that shit.
I'm going to sue everybody.
If he goes through with this and somehow manages to succeed, he retains Alan Dershowitz, we get Richard Goldstone on the bench in a Zionist kangaroo court, that would set a pretty bad precedent, I think. If you disagree with someone's opinions about you, you should respond to it yourself, like an adult, in the court of public opinion, not pay a lawyer thousands of dollars to respond for you in a pre-written email, video essay. It's pretty clear that he's done most of this stuff to make money and for content, which is kind of funny because defamation's supposed to be the other way around. Like, he's made tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars off of my alleged defamation. I don't know how that factors into proving damages, making a bunch of money, more money than you would have made without it. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out, maybe. I would close with some point about right-wing free speech hypocrisy, because a lot of these people supported this lawsuit despite claiming to want free speech.
I do think people that make up bullshit like this probably do need to have a degree of accountability, especially if they're saying and making claims like that you're a supporter of a genocide. I think this is a very extreme claim to make. It's not like you just say this out of the blue, right? And because of that, I do think that there should be some degree of accountability for it.
But it's not even worth it. This is the most predictable thing that has ever happened on Earth. The Zionists and right-wing lip service about...
It's because I've just heard that he's really disgusting. Is it Asmongold? I've heard he's really disgusting. Very specifically, like the gums situation. I'm not going to go into it because it grosses me out and I can't imagine it. But like, I don't like to look at him either. If I just know that you don't really wash your ass or your face or your teeth, I can't actually handle that as a human being.
About free speech is not an actual principle. Of course it's not. It's a tool. Sometimes that tool is a shield to defend their right to be racist loudly online.
I'm not going to cry a fucking river when people who have genocide that's baked into their laws are getting genocided. I don't give a fuck. They're terrible people.
And sometimes it's a sword to attack people who criticize them for doing that.
It's not a threat. I'm going to sue you.
None of these people actually care about any of these issues. Their support for a cause is entirely dictated by whether or not...
I always think it's very funny. Does anybody else think it's funny how like the far right are always yelling free speech so long as they can call me and anyways, so long as they can do that. But if I say anything back, it's like, I'm going to sue you. You can't do this. Like, it's very weird. Why are they like that?
What was the reason?
What is their deal that they always think that it's perfectly acceptable?
What was the reason?
They want to be able to call you the F slur, the R slur. They want to bring back, 1980s slurs. But if you do anything to let them know that they have to be held accountable for that kind of shit that they say to you, they're like, how dare you? How dare you? They're really weird. They're a weird group of people. Okay.
They like the people that are supporting that cause, whether or not they have some sort of content creator-based relationship. But that also means we, myself included, need to stop treating it as if it's anything other than that, with the exception being using these morons to educate people. I think that's good. I think people should keep doing that. All right, so anyways, that's all I have to say about the lawsuit stuff. Ethan and Mutahar, if you are not suing me, that's great. I would prefer that, so I don't have to fundraise for legal fees during a genocide. If you are actually going to sue me, though, please just let me know. I'll fundraise again. You will probably lose the anti-slap motion and have to pay my legal fees, and we'll just be wasting a bunch of time and money, which in the grand scheme of things is not that big of a deal. I'll be fine, but that will be annoying. So let me know, please. Viewers, if you can, donate to the Gaza Aid fundraiser. I think we can raise a lot of money. I'll be going live starting Saturday, May 17th.
So at the end of all of this, what we end up finding out is Noah is a stand-up guy with regards to Palestine. I don't know how he is personally because I don't know that man. And we also have to remember that they were on H3 attempting to but failed to accuse Noah being a rapist. They did not go through with it. They had to be very careful with their language because they got someone on hoping that she would somehow validate that claim. And she was unable to do that. Yeah, we were hooking up and we were not wrapping it up. And he did not tell me that, which, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that I wouldn't allow anybody into my cave if I thought that they were banging other people in any way, shape, or form. That conversation would be had up front. Before the sausage enters the canal, we would have that conversation immediately. Like, hi, let's go get our tests done. That's how we used to do it in the olden days. So that's what they try to do. That's been my problem through all of this. And again, I just would urge all of these people to recognize that, like, the reality is we are losing an entire group of people and a culture and a history we may never get back. So if you can donate, do. If you can't, that's fine too. Watch the stream. Do whatever you can on your side of the world. Make people aware of what's going on in Palestine, and anything that you can do to help is appreciated. So yeah, that is it. That is all for this video. Until next time, subscribe, I guess, if you want to. You don't have to subscribe or don't, whatever. And then until next time, I am so pretty, and so the fuck are you?